tenure, you've done a lot to add tech features into GE, but you also said that you don't believe factories can be automated and run by robots in 5 years.
Those are two different things. In other words, I think we believe that there's a huge industrial internet market, and we want GE to be a real leader in the industrial internet. And so we've invested a lot. We'll be about $6 billion in orders this year. We're growing about 25% a year. So on that pace, we should double in the next 3 or 4 years, and that's our aspiration. I differentiate that a little bit from the standpoint of frequently people say all work is going to be automated. And I take kind of a different tack. I actually think one of the values of our digital strategy is to make existing workers more productive and more efficient. And therefore, I'm a little bit of a skeptic to say everything's going to be done with robots in the next 5 or 10 years. I actually think that we're going to go through a wave where digital tools are going to help make workers much more effective. I've kind of seen so many different things in my career. I think I kind of know how to get things from an idea phase to an execution phase. And I think that's something we always pride ourselves on in GE, is that not only do we have the next dream, but we know how to make it happen.
In your February letter to shareholders, you said America will be less of a leader in trade. So how do you evaluate the current free trade environment and trend of globalization?
Look, I think we're just in a phase right now of more protectionism. So our strategy of being more of a local player, whether we're in China or the US or Europe, is really going to pay off, and that's going to be a good strategy. All that being said, I think a good relationship between the US and China is essential. There's no more, I think, more important or strategic relationship over the next 10 or 20 years than the one between the US and China. So I hope we have a good relationship. The fact is that free trade has been eroding for a long time. It didn't start with President Trump. I think China's had a role in it. I think Japan has a role in it. Europe has a role in it. Everybody's more protectionist than they were 5 or 10 or 20 years ago. It doesn't mean there's an excuse for us to pull back. So we very much believe in that GE needs to grow globally, needs to grow around the world, but it's going to be more of a, what I call connected localization than globalization based on trade. Look, I quite admire initiatives like One Belt, One Road. I think One Belt, One Road helps China be more effective globally. And I very much wish the US would reauthorize the Exim Bank or other things that would help make the US more well known in Africa and other places around the world. But for us, we have to just kind of play in the world we see.
What kind of role do you think big companies like GE can play in improving and pushing forward policies in Washington?
It's a great question. Look, all we can do is say what we believe and what we think. I think we're in a time period where nobody trusts any big institution, including big companies. So I think we need to understand the mood in our own country. But at the same time, we need to be a good partner in China with the long-term investments we've made. And I think good companies and companies like GE, we know how to be good American citizens, but still be a good partner to China Eastern or to Harbin or other places.
I hate to mention the stock price. GE stock price has fallen 30% since you took the office. So from your perspective, how a company leader can keep the balance between steering the company in the long run and satisfying and rewarding shareholders in the same time?
Look, I think it's always a kind of an endless battle. I would say we have leading market shares in everything we do, so we have the respect of our customers. We have a fantastic team, global team, and the market cap of the company is a high market cap, but not one that we currently would want it to be. But I think as a company, all we can do is grow our earnings, grow our cash flow, continue to build our market position, with the understanding that eventually the stock price is going to reflect all that good work. And so these things ebb in and out of flow all the time. And you have to satisfy all three. You have to satisfy your teams, your customers, and your investors. And it doesn't always work overnight, but over time, if you're doing the right things, they all work out.
It must be a hard time during the financial crisis in 2008. What kind of lesson GE has learned?
Oh gosh, I think everybody that went through the financial crisis learned how to be a better risk manager. They know that really incredible unforeseen events can take place. And I think the company today is just much more rigorous and much stronger, much more resilient than it was then. I think beyond that, I think we've really used not just that time period, but much of the last 15 years to make our company better, to have a better portfolio, more technology, more digital, more global. And I think today we're just a much stronger company than we were in 2000 or 2008. And I think that's all you can do is make your company better. Globalization is not going to slow down. Digitization is not going to slow down. The need to be faster and experiment with new business models, none of those things are going to be any easier. So I think the company is going to continue to evolve and change. The one thing I know for sure is that GE will be an essential company. Wherever the world is in 5 years or 10 years, whatever the future trends are, GE will be in the lead. I'm totally comfortable and confident in that.
When Mr. Welch left office, he said, "My success will be determined by how well my successor grows it in the next 20 years. So how will you define your achievement in GE?"
I don't think you're going to know that for 5 or 10 or 15 years. I mean, the fact is that the products we use, the products we make, the technologies we innovate, they're all long cycle. They all have an impact over time. So come back and interview me in 10 years. We'll have a good conversation and see how we did.
What suggestion you will give to Mr. Flannery?
Do it his own way. I think these are kind of one-act play. So he should be comfortable and confident to take his own ideas and take the company into the future. And I'll be always there to support him.
Any plan after retirement?
I haven't, for 35 years, I've kind of worked 100 hours a week doing one thing. So I know there'll be a next act. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but I'm kind of excited to think about it. But one thing is I have so many great friends in China. Whatever I do, I want to intersect with China. I learn so much. I have such love and respect for the people in China. Every time I've gone there, and I've done it almost with more frequency than any place else, I've learned so much. And I have such great admiration and respect for what the country of China has done, but especially our people. We have more than 20,000 employees in China. I love them. They're amazing.